What's going on, guys? I want to welcome you back. We got a big episode today because it's the last week of the season, and Hulkling arrives, a brand new 6-cost card that can turn into any 6-cost card. Today, Alex and I are going to break down our thoughts on the card. With a huge September around the corner, is he worth going after? And most of all, what are the best 6-costs that he can turn into, and all the crazy synergy that can happen. With that, we're also talking about a lot of stuff coming to the game, like snap packs that are going to give you a new way to get Series 5 cards by just playing the game. And on top of that, a lot of new cards coming that are unreleased Datamine, and they're not tied to any season, meaning there's going to be new ways to acquire these cards. There's a lot to break down, like Tombstone, Surtur, and more. And we're going to talk about that all today on this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Alex Coccia. Hello, brother. We've got the last week of the season, and coming off a kind of a chill week of speed coming out. We had leagues, and so for myself, I use that time to play a little Snap, but also do some other catch up of gaming. I don't know about you, man, but I don't get to game as much as I used to, like for fun rather than, for work.
Getting to play games for fun is like one of the things I miss the most. Honestly, like I barely get to do anything. The only thing that like I play for fun on occasion right now is like, okay, so this sounds crazy, but I have my Xbox set up in my bedroom, hooked up to my bedroom TV, because the only time that I get to like play anything for fun is when like I'm laying in bed and my wife's sleeping and I'm like, okay, maybe I have like 20 minutes where I can do something. I've been playing Diablo 4 lately because it feels like the kind of thing I can just pick up and like play a little bit. Like there's no like meaningful anything that I have to worry about. I can play for any given amount of time I want. But when I'm at my PC, like in this room, there's something about it, Cozy. You must feel the same way. Like I feel like I can't do anything fun in here. Like it's always work all the time.
Oh yeah, I haven't played a game, like I haven't relaxed and played a game for fun in here for in a minute. But the first game finally hooked me for a long time, and I mean it hooked me. Have you heard of Black Myth Wukong?
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah, of course. It's like shaking up everyone's all the charts. We'll say, yeah.
It is a masterpiece of a game. It is so much fun. I don't know if you played Elden Ring, but I decided to dabble in the game. I'm like, I'll just, whatever, play it when I can. It was the first game in a while where I was like, I'll get in a couple bosses, whatever. And then I look at the clock, it's like 3 a.m. and I'm like, I have so much work to do. I haven't had that experience in a long time. I have a little like old-fashioned little whiskey on the rocks while I play. Probably makes it worse, but just truly, dude, just fun to game with that a little bit. Did a little Rivals as well. This week we had there was a creator server. They announced it's coming out in December, which if you guys don't know, I'm completely amped for. It's marrying all my favorite things in life. So it's been a gaming week for me, man.
I'm so jealous, man. I remember when I first tried Elden Ring, like I bought it because I kind of got caught up in the hype. I walked out to the first boss and got one shot, and I'm like, you know what, man? I don't know. And I like tried to play it a whole bunch, and I did put some hours into it, but like I played so casually, I never quite built up the skill set. But this Wukong does look amazing, right? It does look incredible, and it's based off of a story which I think is really consistent from that particular region of the world. Because I know that even in like Dota 2, there was a hero called the Monkey King, which is like exactly kind of I think inspired by that and stuff.
Smite and League of Legends too. Yeah, there was and Goku is loosely based on it too. Journey to the West is what it's based on, and I love mythology in general. I didn't know like a hyper amount about Chinese mythology, so it was cool to kind of like, there's still stuff that kind of loses me, if you will, but I'm just a sucker for history, sucker for stuff, mythology-wise, so very well put together game. And then, dude, the other note, so they just released, before jumping to Snap, they just released Winter Soldier and Captain on Rivals, and they did this cinematic, and I gotta say, man, is it too hard to ask for like a full, like, I want Dragon Ball Z length season of that anime style of a show from Marvel? I feel like it would do so well, man, if they made it like edgy and aggressive. Like, just give it to us already.
It looks incredible. Like some of the like the cinematics and even some of like the flares and flashes from Rivals looks incredible. And I've actually showed some of those trailers to like my sons because they're super into superheroes. So cool. And they're just really interesting. They're awesome. Like even like the way like Doom is like kind of that huge villainous look. It's been truly remarkable how well they've kind of captured that universe and like captured the personas of these different heroes.
Well, and just the fact that they released, I think it was cool they got an announced date, but the biggest thing is that everything's free to play. That right there was like, they're going the Fortnite approach where it's like the heroes are free to play the game. You can just get in and play it and then spin from there. Good gosh, much needed, because I think that's kind of the way now. I think Snap paid that a bit for mobile gaming, and it's tough for mobile games now to come with like hyper amounts, even though, you know, you can spend money in here, the core gameplay of it. But with that, dude, we've got what I thought was going to be my favorite card this month in Emperor Hulkling. A lot to break down there. Alex, what are we breaking down on your side of the Snapchat?
Cozy, on my side of the Snapchat, we're going to be doing our speed review, giving our thoughts on the newest card that kind of came into Marvel Snap. We'll also be talking about the best cards in Marvel Snap and giving our impressions on the risers, the fallers, but most importantly, the cards that are impacting the meta the most. And then finally, our Snapchat mailbag.
Now, I said it a bit as a joke at the time when we were talking about the new cards coming out, but I gave this guy my 5-star. I gave this guy my favorite card, mainly because of just what I'm interested in, right? He gives me copycat vibes in some ways. Let's break down the synergies, and then me and you, we're going to go through all the 6-cost cards and then kind of rank them from there. So if you guys don't know, Emperor Hulkling here is a 6-cost, 11 power card. At the start of the game, copy the text of a random 6-cost card within the game. So there's a lot of opinions out on this guy, and with a big September, as I keep saying, around the corner, people are going to want to save up their tokens. He comes with Nimrod and Cannonball. Let's start there. Pretty lackluster for Spotlight Week, if I say so myself.
Yeah, I mean, Cannonball has been completely irrelevant since the nerf. I think this is definitely a candidate for getting like the nerf reverted. Cannonball with the change to Professor X has been a shell of its former self. Even with Junk being pretty decent with the release of Kate Bishop, and you know we're seeing a lot more synergies with Junk as a whole. Cannonball is not making those decks. And it was one of those cards that the negative power nerf really impacted its viability. So I think that should make a comeback. I'd be surprised if while, you know, at the next OTA, which I think is timed for that release week, I'm not even sure. I got to keep track of it. But it wouldn't surprise me if that card got buffed, if Cannonball got buffed. As for Nimrod, I like Nimrod. I think he's okay. I've been playing a lot of Phoenix Force lately. Don't ask me why. And Nimrod's a big part of that package, and he's surprisingly effective.
He's a card. He's definitely a card. I think you always got to look ahead with Snap, and I feel like if you're all in on Scream, which is going to be a new style of deck where you force to move your opponent's cards, and then that will gain and steal power. If you're going for Scream and you don't have Cannonball, this is going to be your opportunity to get Cannonball in a Spotlight. So just for you guys, little FYI, looking ahead, and then you can get Hulkling as a you know, consolation prize there. Not a bad one at that. Let's talk about him. What is your initial star rating here on the Hulkling?
So my initial star rating is going to be a 3 stars.
Okay.
I do think that he's well statted, which really minimizes the downward risk of him. My major concern with Hulkling is that it's like, okay, he can be a Doctor Doom, but usually you want to just play Doctor Doom, or like the very synergistic cards that often close out games. You put in a deck for a reason. Like there's a reason why you run a Spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And so like Hulkling doesn't have that. He's not the closer of any particular deck or any particular archetype, but his variability could be a cube stealer. So that the high roll potential keeps me positive, but the idea that we only have 12 cards to put in a deck, and often you want to close out your game with a banger. I mean, that works for Hulkling if you get a favorable roll, but at the same time, that banger might have to be something that you've built to synergize directly with your deck.
Yeah, I think that's the common approach, is the randomness and why play him and not play someone else. I think there are a bunch of things that he can fit into, and for me, obviously, 5-star was the hype around the funness. You know, I want to lean towards 4. He's probably going to be more towards 3.5. I want to break down why I think he is going to be worth it, not only at a 4-star now, but towards the future. First of all, new 6-cost cards coming out plenty all the time. That only builds up Hulkling in a better light. And the cool thing about him is, and we'll kind of break this down, but about like 15 to 20% of the time, he is going to give you a card that completely wins you the game, right? And so like Copycat, that can happen. Way less control because it's anything on their side, but there are, you know, they're playing good cards. So you obviously have that. Copycat's only 3. He's a 6, so that's definitely different there. I love that flexibility. To me, he feels like, you know, there's decks that are just solid, well-performing decks that you put Red Hulk in because Red Hulk's just a great 6-cost card, or you just have this 6-cost card in a lot of decks. Doctor Doom, like, you know, to your point you said earlier, I feel like he's almost better in those decks than those cards because he has such a wider range of winning in those decks. And then he's not, you don't have to have him. You don't need him for the Spectrum play or whatever that might be. So I see him as kind of this plug and play in those style of decks. But on top of that, man, and keep in mind, I think the statistical players and the ones that looking at in that sense, for sure.
And I know we're going to be talking synergies and stuff like that, but one of the things that kind of elevated my rating slightly was that there really aren't that many super bad hits, right?
Nope.
Like when you look at 6-drops, like they're 6-drops for a reason. They're usually very high impact, but they're also very decently statted, or their effect is disproportionately powerful to their statistics, right? And so there's only a few that are really like, oh, Hulkling hit that and it's a disaster. But for the most part, you're kind of batting near or above average.
And there's only like 2 where he's like, they're unplayable, right? Like you just like, you're not, and we're going to be ranking them, but like Destroyer, like obviously like you're just, there's not going to be a lot of uses to play that. And we'll get into those when we rank them all. And there's way more that are either neutral or you can find a way to benefit off of. And so that's like right away, that's where I see his potential going. Your opponent not being able to read that, I think is very powerful. Also, man, I know it's just not important right now, but Conquest, fantastic. Draft mode, I think he's probably like the best 6 cost to get in draft mode. One of them, right? Outside of like, Red Hulk and Mockingbird. But like, this is a fantastic draft mode card if and when that game mode comes to the game.
It would be, yeah. Like it's funny how like different modes. Like I remember when like I would follow like Hearthstone very kind of intently. Different cards were better for Arena versus Constructed versus Wild, and so like as Marvel Snap starts to fill out its modes and its kind of like its play styles, and suddenly cards like this might see new life, right? I absolutely agree. And that's one of the reasons why we like something like Agent Coulson, right? Very unpredictable. And Copycat's fantastic in something like Conquest because you can get to consistently steal through their deck and do that constant disruption. So yeah, I definitely do like that call overall.
And not to mention 11 power is 11 power. So like at the end of the day, if it's a vanilla card, it's 11 power is nothing to scoff at. Looking at another card here that is obviously doing pretty well in the game. I think this is just a great Airsham card. I think just having this ability to play this on 5. Let's go ahead and talk about Electro Ramp as well. Wave. A ramp card in any degree, I think Hulkling almost always makes the list because you have a card that can pop off way above now. And who we kidding? Airsham's obviously one of the best decks in the game right now. And just ramp in general is kind of flexed into most decks these days. And that's why I see him being always played in those decks. I don't know why you wouldn't.
And like we just got Wiccan, and I think that Wiccan is a good example of something that you can use to ramp this card out early, right? Like if you're able to play a Psylocke into Wiccan 3, and then on turn 4 you're able to play whatever Hulkling has copied, right?
Yep.
That's pretty good, and that kind of minimizes the downward risk because even if it is Destroyer, you have Wiccan on board with Psylocke or in a Quicksilver or whatever, right? Like maybe you can just get it out there for that 11 power or whatever, and so it kind of minimizes that downward risk. Which is what I've been after. Every time I'm looking at this card and trying to evaluate, I think about how can I minimize its downward risk because the pop-off potential is insane, right?
Yeah, well, first I like that because Hulkling and Wiccan, they're married in the comics, I believe, and so like you've obviously have that synergy there. You've got the pop-off with ramp, you've got good Airsham, you have a good flexible middle of the pack card, you have the unpredictability. That's why I'm taking the route. I get it, the safe route. I get it. It is like, hey, why would I play this? Blah blah blah. I think people were saying, if you go back at Copycat, people weren't jumping up and down. They were thinking it was a good card. It wasn't going to be the best card in the 3-spot slot. Now I think it's definitely deserving that. It's so good. It's great. It was my 5-star card. I loved it because
I loved it too. We loved it. What are you talking about?
We did love it.
We were like all over Copycat,
that was,
man.
The Cassandra Copycat week. Oh yeah, and it's proven that. It's shown. It could go to 3-4 and it's still just tremendous because of that possibility of being a game winner. And we're going to talk about the cards that this can turn into that you're going to snap on, because why would you not? It's going to happen in your hand, as Copycat does too. You don't have to worry about it. Copycat gives you intel, steals it from the opponent. She does so much more. She's just a better card. But Hulkling has some really unique mechanics around it. I also think just in general, Bud, that this is just a decent card to throw into a Living Tribunal build. Because first of all, I like magic in the deck a lot, but this is just straight power. There's a lot of cards that really capitalize in Tribunal that I think it's going to love. You're already ramping out with this deck's playstyle anyway. I think this is just a very interesting Tribunal card as well.
That's fair, right? And like you can get the holy roll of getting your onslaught or something like that,
Yeah, yeah.
sure, right? But it's still also six costed, right? But you are right. Its stats would kind of really benefit Tribunal, which is looking for great stats across the board pretty much all the time.
Does this bring Hella back?
I'm not sure if I would like put Hulkling in a discard deck. I'm not sure if
See, I
I
love
have the
it.
coconuts for that.
I love it in discard. I think Black Knight being able to discard it itself, if it's like, you know, a destroyer or something like that, you can try to make that happen with Lady Sif, but also just using it in that style of deck. Like Magneto, do you remember Magneto was used a lot in the Black Knight deck because it was just a good card? I think this is, again, filling that kind of role a little bit. And I'm gonna be interested to see the creative ways and the flexible ways that you can use them. Before we rank them, any other places that you like this card? I was looking at maybe Thanos and the Lockjaw, but then again, a little scary if this thing does destroy or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I wouldn't chase like a Thanos Lockjaw scenario because I think having it come out without knowing what it is. Do we know if it reveals at the start of the game or if it reveals in the hand? Like, do we actually know that yet or no?
I think it's gonna have to be in your hand for you to see it rather than at the beginning of the game because my thought is, well, what's the exact text? Because let's see here. At the start of the game, copy the text. Yeah, so like I don't think you're gonna see that till it happens. Now, if like you lockjaw it out, it's interesting. If you lockjaw this out, it'll be that card. But like Great Portal, I think it's just gonna give you a vanilla 6/11 because there's no card to come out at the start.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, like I'm trying to see like what kind of value decks could utilize it best. I'm taking a look at decks that like utilize, for instance, Red Hulk to good effectiveness, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, if this deck can utilize Red Hulk, like even the Sandman style decks, right? So we can maybe use the Emperor Hulkling. I'm taking a look at ramp decks to see, okay, can we get that Emperor Hulkling out on turn 5, right, to again mitigate its downward risk. Those are kind of the two places I've been looking at the most right now. I've been taking a look at like, okay, what if I can wave into Emperor Hulkling? What if I can Electro into, Vision Emperor Hulkling? I've been going the ramp route a lot, and but I'm not willing to go the Thanos Lockjaw route, I don't think, unless it reveals at the start. It does say at the start of the game, but I don't know if it's going to show you at the start. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Galactus, so Galactus style decks, I think it's really good for as well because you don't have to have, like that plays Goblin, so if it's a Destroyer, if you get the Galactus pull, great. Null's awesome. So there's a lot to go off that. I also think just like, again, just a good card to have. So like there's those decks with Scar, Mockingbird, Mysterio, Sasquatch, and you're just like playing out all these massive cards, right, to get all these guys rolling. If this hits a She-Hulk, a Scar, a Mockingbird, it's gonna we love that, right? So we're gonna go ahead of ourselves. Let's go ahead and rank them, guys. Me and Alex are going to look at a tier list, S, A, B, C, and F tier, and rank the cards that this can turn into to give you guys a bit of a better idea of why I like it so much and why Alex is starting to like it more. All right, man, so we're gonna go in alphabetical order. Like I said, I've got all the 6-cost cards here, and Airsham and Death, I believe, are not gonna be pulled. And Agatha, I'm sure probably Dev has answered it. I don't know if it can pull Agatha. We're gonna assume it does, just to have it as another point against it, if you will. And we start right there, man. We start with Agatha. We're going in alphabetical. I think we obviously know this is one of the worst pulls, if not the very worst pull. This is an auto retreat. You lost. Good day, sir.
Yeah, so to clarify, we're doing a 6-cost tier list for the effective Emperor Hulkling.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Agatha's an F. Agatha's an F anyways, even if it was just Agatha.
Yeah, and there's that. I mean, that's like a 1 in 26 chance to have that happen, and man, do you lose the lottery. Agatha's Agatha, not great all around. So yeah, we're gonna start off the heater with an F tier card. Next up, we have Alioth, and it adds a stat point to Alioth. Not bad. I think Alioth is a good card. I think Alioth has been better these days than it was earlier before. I think Alioth is such a plug-and-play card to begin with. You're not mad about it. I would give it about an A tier if I were to say so. Maybe B, but I'm leaning more towards A for the stat increase.
Absolutely agree with A. I think that Alioth is fantastic. I think it's incredibly powerful, and I think that its play rate's dropped enough that people are not expecting the effect, let alone its effect on an Emperor Hulk.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like the way I think of this is F tier is it's detrimental towards you, right? C tier is it's kind of neutral for what the card already was, and you're just getting the stat stick. B is like it's a good card or situationally great. A is it's a better card. S is the best card, right? So that's the way I look at it. And that brings me to Apocalypse, which is, again, just right at the C tier. I think this is going to be, for the most part, in the decks you play, just going to be an 11 power stat stick. if you do play it in Hela, if you do play it in Black Knight, then, you know, you do get that extra boost a bit in the discard. But for the most part, is this a C tier to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's not negative in any way, shape, or form. It's just additional stats on like a card that, you know, might get black. I won't get black bolted. I mean,
Sokovia.
maybe, just maybe they play Moon Knight on you. Moon Knight's kind of gaining in popularity, so it would pop up by 4 power. So
Yeah, it's not awful. I couldn't give it a B, but it's definitely an 11 stat that has the potential to go higher than that. We keep moving up the board. We have Arnim Zola, who I think we can agree. I put this at S. I think this is one of the best cards you can pull.
Yeah, because Arnim Zola is designed to intentionally lose a location. If you know at the start of the game that your Emperor Hulkling's a Zola, you can build your position so that you could take advantage of that, right? If it reveals when you kind of top deck it, so to speak, it might be trickier to set up that board just the way you like it. But either way, Zola, like, you're just replicating with 11 power on the base. Like, that's actually insane. Yeah, it's an S tier.
You're just moving. Yeah, you're moving your winning lane and you're adding whatever that is twice. And this can actually, Arnim Zola is one of the game winners, especially to your point, if you pull it early. But then if we just talk about the decks that you would want to play it in, whether it be Airsham, ramp decks, so be it. You're going to be pumped. Like, at the very, let's just call it as a wave play. You could literally just put 2 waves on the board, plus you've got the 11 power. That is an absolute huge game winner. I love Arnim Zola. Blob. Is this just, this is another S tier, yeah?
It's got to be close, right? What's he get to, like 24 power now?
It'd be 13, and that would be up to about 24 or higher, depending on your deck. That's stupid. That's a lane winner for sure. I think this is one of the top tier cards as well.
Yeah, it is. And another key thing, though, is that even if you have initiative, it's basically keeping the Shadow King play in check because you have that 11 baseline power, right? Whereas Blob can go all the way down to 0. So it's straight up better. It's power creep on Blob in every possible meaningful way if it copies Blob. So yeah, definitely an S tier effect.
I know we're starting off with a lot of good ones, but just sign me up, dude. I love this card. This can be such a wild... It's going to be great for fun and content, and I think like that's always up there for me. But also, I think it is going to be competitive and win games it's not supposed to. Destroyer, one of the worst cards it could be. I think this is obviously an F tier, even though there are situations out of it. You never want this. This is going to be a disappointment. Not as bad as Agatha, who we can put down here, but a disappointment to say the least.
Yeah, Destroyer sucks. You don't want Destroyer.
Cool. We'll put them towards the bottom. I don't think there's going to be anything worse than those two. Dr. Doom, a 6'11 that then turns into a 6'21, buddy. How do you think that is?
That's as S as it comes, sir.
Yeah, dude. That's a... If you get a Dr. Doom, like, so Arnim is fantastic to get a lot going off of. Blob 2. Any of those 3, though, right off the bat, if I have that in my opening hand, I'm just going to snap. I mean, like, why? Especially with the Doom. With the 21 spread power, it just doesn't get better.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Like that, it is one of the absolute best hits here. So yeah, no, if you're getting Dr. Doom off Hulkling, and right off the top, it does look pretty promising, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Not bad, man. Galactus, I think, is very interesting, okay? In a Galactus build, obviously great. In ramp off the wave, oh baby, this is going to be so cool. In a lot of games, you're going to be playing Hulkling on 6, maybe 5. Is this an A tier or is this more B just because of the way Galactus is played? C's, you know, just stat forward, but this is like I think it's hard to synergize this, which is why I'd probably go B, even though it's cracked an 11 power Galactus.
I think you're being too conservative with 11 power Galactus. I would go A. Like, I think that's a pretty strong line, and I don't think people can account for an 11 power Galactus.
Yeah.
And as it is, people are accounting for Galactus at all right now.
Okay.
So I do think it's a pretty damn good effect. It might even be like one of those like get out of jail free cards. Like, you know, I need an out here because I think I'm falling behind, and you take a shot at throwing down your Hulkling to Galactus location or something.
That's why the more I think about it, these Galactus shells with this card as just another card in the deck, I think is super cool because you obviously could get Galactus, even though it's a small chance, but like Goliath, Galactus will be in your actual deck, and then like Blob, like these are all just good cards to have. And it's still an 11 power stick. At the end of the day, it's an 11 power stick that you can do. So I won't argue there. Giganto, I put it towards the top of F tier. Obviously, it's not good. It's down on the power, and you can only play it in the left. It's not going to detriment your game massively, but you're pigeonholed where you can play the Hulkling.
Yeah, so what's going to happen is exactly this. You're going to have the raft on the left location.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to fill it, right, with a bunch of stuff. You don't have Jeff, so you like overcommit location. You're going to get a Giganto, and then you're going to top deck a Giganto Hulkling, and you're going to go onto Twitter.
How Giganto hasn't been reworked yet is wild. Like he should be like 20 power or 19 power, but only left like 14 just doesn't cut it.
Man, I remember on an early Snapchat, I was like pumping Giganto, saying like, "Oh, play him left as a surprise play and all this stuff." I don't know if you remember that. I was actually on this like just absolute bandwagon of
no
loving
one
Giganto.
Expects Giganto.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude,
good old days, man.
He makes cool thumbnails, but that's about it. Heimdall is, even though you're getting power increase, I won't give him an F. I'll give him a low C though. I think that it's not you're gonna have to work around it. It's still 11. It's pretty bad. I don't love it, but I will give it a C.
Listen, I'm one of those guys that has a couple shots of a beautiful Canadian rye and wonders if a surprise Heimdall deck will ever work. And then I play, and I don't know if it's the whiskey or if it's the Heimdall, but the decks never work.
Dude, the math never works. I swear, I'm always like, oh, I win here. It's done. It's over. Now, and Heimdall, man, with Heimdall's going to need some touch up after the next season too. We have like with Madam Web, it's just like that's going to have you be able to get such a vehicle going more that I just don't know. Maybe Madam Web left lane and then put them to the right, then play Heimdall. It's going to need some more love. Hela, I've got Hela as a C, kind of in the same vein as Apocalypse. It's going to be a stat stick. If you happen to, in a Hela deck, whatever, you're able to replay it or whatever. But yeah, neutral.
Yeah, if you're thinking like C's basically just like vanilla 611, you play it and nothing really happens with minor like possible upside and like they actually play Moon Knight and discard something or I think that's fine. Yeah, I would agree. Hela is basically the same level as Apocalypse. It's making me wonder if Heimdall should be lower because I don't think if you're ever playing a standard game of Snap, you just want to throw stuff left for.
I know, dude. I was thinking that too. Like especially in the decks that he's played in, like this just messes you up mostly all the time. Like all the time.
I don't know. Yeah, I think I agree with the F placement on Heimdall.
Yeah, I do too. I think like we want to say because it's a stat increase, but like Heimdall's so specific in what he does. It's so specific. I would agree. Helicarrier, not much conversation here. It's gonna be the stat stick right there. Another card for Black Knight decks though. Like you could discard and get the thing, get the whatever. I don't hate it. There's some discard options here. Hulk is the definition of C tier. Yeah.
Well, like Hulk is defining the C tier, yeah.
Yeah, that just
it just does 611.
Yeah, he's a worse Hulk, but he's vanilla. That's the goal there. Null is interesting. I think Null as a 611 baseline, so you've got the C, destroys such a popular deck. There's a lot of destroy cards. I think you could argue B, but I guess we could go C. I think you could argue B though.
Dude, I'm actually, this is where we're going to disagree. I think this is like an A. Maybe even close to S.
Just with not popular.
Not S. I think it's A. I'll tell you. Listen, there's so much destroy out there. There's so many destroy-based effects. Not just that, but you have a Shang-Chi, which can activate it, right? And you can mitigate like the Shang-Chi damage. I think Null is actually a great pull. Yeah. A great pull that they really cannot bank on. And listen, while ranking, I robbed destroy players of cubes using Super Scroll. Yeah. I did. I absolutely robbed them with Super Scroll. And even in Conquest, where I was doing some like gold conquests and stuff like that, even just showing that I had Super Scroll prevented any Null gameplay from any of my destroy opponents. I actually think that Null as the Hulkling is legit. It is 11 power baseline with tremendous archetype destroying power.
Bro, 100%. I think B is where I land. A, it's so close to A because then I was thinking about this, right? Where do you want to play Hulkling? Man, ramp decks, right? Dude, Arnim Nola, the old classic. Like, it used to be so tough to pull off a lot of the time because you had to make sure that you got, your Null up a little bit. If it happens to be Null, you play Arnim Zola and you pretty much win that game, flat out, because it's just going to 22 like that.
Can you do me a favor? Can you put them like directly in between A and B? Just to show that you and I were split on this?
Sure. I can. How about for now? I'll have him in A, and we'll move him down if he feels like he should go down. I'll let you have your A.
He'll never go down. Oh. I'm dying on this hill.
Okay.
Null is sick. It's a great hit.
He's back in B. All right, let's go to Leader. Leader is. I'll move him up if we need to. Leader is one of the best. Yeah, 6. I mean, listen. You're getting to play what your opponent's playing. You're going to probably take over the lane that you want to win now. Leader's low power is the only thing that keeps him in check. This is one of those snap right away. If you play the game accordingly and you leave the space open, it's a GG.
Yeah, it's insane. It's literally one of the absolute top of S tier, if not potentially even the top. Yeah, definitely
Okay.
S tier.
Okay. Magneto, I have at B because it's a power less. Magneto's a great power. You're not mad about it. It's better than C. It's not quite A. Magneto can pull so much. I don't know, man. I just don't think it's an A because of the crazy pop-off potential. Magneto's just a good card to have, so I would have it at B.
Yeah, no, I agree with the B placement.
Okay. Mockingbird, oh boy. Tough one to rank, man. It's definitely A tier. I mean, Mockingbird's just the best card ever. And having another one that can discount, there's so many ways to discount. If you play this in that build I was talking about with Mysterios and Squirrels anyway, you're cooking, man. Absolute cooking.
The only challenge there is that, like, very specific decks want Mockingbird, and she's a huge part of that. If you're playing like the vast majority of decks in Marvel Snap, a casual Mockingbird isn't as helpful, but there's a lot of junk out there, and anything they play on your side, like even the acid arrow from Kate Bishop comes over and suddenly Hulkling gets discounted, right? So you have all the locations that put stuff on your board. I'm constantly surprised when I'm playing Mockingbird just how often she gets discounted just by what's happening. It's not even because I'm trying to, right?
Yeah. But it's like, and it's stuff as easy too as like, yeah, not even like the Squirrels, but you have the hub and it gives you a 1 cost. And you're like, oh, I might as well play that for, Mockingbird, the Goblins. I agree. The rocks, debris, there's subterranean rocks. Like, there's endless stuff. And to even get Hulkling down to a 5'11, 5'11, sign me up. You get into a 4'3, 2'11, absolute craziness. Odin, definitely A tier. I was tempted to put this towards the top. I think I've settled for Odin and Onslaught in A, but almost the top of A, right? I think he's better than all of these ones because of how many on reveals there are in the game and how many it really doesn't matter late in the game that you're happy about to use Odin back on top of.
I was just going to say, looking at Odin in A makes me want to send Null and Mockingbird down to B.
Dude, that's what I was talking about. Well, yeah, I think he's towards the top of it. Like, the difference between S and A is just the next card down. And so if he's like right here, I would still want all of these. But if you think about how many good cards, Odin's almost S with Onslaught being A rather than them in the same tier. It's a tough one to pull. What do you think?
It's so tough. Like, obviously they're powered, like their powers are very indicative of what their effects are, right? Like Odin's effect is good, but when I play ongoing decks, that extra 8 power on top of a Wong Ironheart, sorry, I almost forgot a name for a second. It actually makes a difference. Odin's power is relevant. You add some more and suddenly it's even better. Yeah, if you want to go S, you can. I don't think it reaches quite that level. It's not the Zola broken.
So close too, because even in a ramp deck, the way that you can abuse this with like an Arnhem or with just other on reveals within the game, it's so close. I want to hover here. We can leave it an A for now. It's right on the line, kind of like Noah with A and B. Onslaught to me is just an A. Like, I think this is just it can be a clear-cut game winner, but it also is just a better Onslaught, right? Like, it's A for me.
Yeah, this is what you do, right? You wave out Tribunal. Somehow, I don't know how you do it. You get Moon Girl. You Moon Girl your Emperor Hulkling that hit the Onslaught, right? You play Iron Man, and then somehow on your 8th turn, you play... I just realized the energy makes no sense. You play the onslaughted, the Emperor Hulklings, and you just get to 7 billion power. That's
7 billion. Yeah, that's
so 8 turns, 7 billion power.
It is 7 billion. Yeah. Okay. Orca, I might put in B because it is flat, but it has the upside to go up and steal the lane if it needs to be. Is it not the worst?
I'm actually really confused with this because they have the exact same stat line. It's just Orca. It's just actual Orca. It is the definition of C.
Yeah, so it's just Orca. These, though, are an 11 flat. Like, you're getting 11 flat with almost no extra unless you happen to get discard something happening. Orca at least synergizes into anything as an 11 that goes up +5. It's +5, right?
High or are you high?
Do you not understand what I'm saying? These have abilities, but these are harder to flex in any deck because they're discard. You have to have something happen. This is going to give you Orca's ability to get up to at least 16 power in a lane by itself. It's Orca, but it's still Orca. I get that. But there's no...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But it's flexible of Orca.
What was the last time you played Orca?
Dude, I thought you were the one that was I'm big on Orca.
See, I'm the one who likes Orca, and I'm thinking we're huffing hopium here.
Yeah, I mean, to put him with Magneto is ridiculous. I just think to have him in a random deck where you could steal lane is not terrible. I'll put him in C. I was just making my case of it works in a lot of flexible spots, and you could put him in and try to steal lane at the last second. I didn't hate him as a card, but you know what? It's fine. All right, next up we've got Red Hulk. Is he clear-cut S to you? I would assume he's got to be right there.
I would say he's more of an A, simply because like you're just adding 1 power to the Red Hulk effect, right?
Just the like best or one of the best 6-cost cards in the game.
Well, yeah, okay, obviously yes, but what I'm trying to say is like I also look at like how does Hulkling improve that text? Like, really, you're improving by 1 power, whereas with Zola, you're improving by 11.
I feel like this, I do like the Odin. I think the Odin's going to go up to S. We'll have Red Hulk at the top of A. This feels like it can really go over the top in most decks. Red Hulk's just incredible stats. I'd almost put him towards S, but I get your point there. Sasquatch, we're going to round in a room in A. Sasquatch, to me, is just another A card.
Yeah, he's just very natural to include in any kind of deck. Yeah, I would say low A for sure for Sasquatch. Like, you're never going to be disappointed in that for sure. And he's been a low-key winner of the last couple like weeks for me. Like, I've come around to Sasquatch. I think it might be one of the most underappreciated cards in Snap right now.
I love me some Sasquatch. In fact, the next like few cards kind of all resemble the same thing. She-Hulk as well. I think you're just pumped to get a She-Hulk that you can discount with a little bit better power. Never bad to have that flex into your game. Like, it's a fantastic card around the board. As well as Scar. I think all of these cards... Is Scar A or B?
You know what? I would probably lean B, because like Scar needs a very specific style of build.
Yeah.
But I think that like in the intro we should have mentioned, I think Scar is a great card to play with Hulkling. Like if you're doing like ramp based decks,
that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Scar's a great choice. Like now you have another activator for Scar over 10 power that could pretty much be anything. So I like Scar's potential to be in those lists.
Bro, I'm telling you, I think there's a deck out there with like Squirrels, Mysterio, Scar, She-Hulk, Sasquatch, and Hulkling, because there's so much there that you can work with. I don't know. I think it has legs to stand on. Spectrum. There's enough ongoing cards in the game that it's going to get up. I would say most games this could get up to probably 13 to 15 in the power of the Hulkling.
I wouldn't go A. I would probably lean B, maybe above. I don't know if I'd go above Magneto. You are right. Like you're probably naturally playing a couple of ongoings just cause ongoings do stuff, right? Spectrum decks tend to be obviously very ongoing heavy, like to the point that like, you know, some people will lean towards a Howard the Duck or something like that. Because that 2 power across any card is just beneficial. So yeah, no, you're right. It's almost probable that, you know, Emperor Hulkling taking Spectrum is going to be a net 13 or 15 power.
Yeah, I think it's just good power, but I guess it's spreading it wide, so we could go with that. I mean, obviously like Doom is so much better in that case. Thanos, just a wash, just a straight up good old C tier card here. Even in I guess maybe in a Thanos deck in a perfect world, you get all the stones out, you could get 2 Thanoses, whatever, like with the 20 power, but that's few and far between. Infinite, one of the worst, I would say, right above. I guess I don't even. You can't even play it, so maybe it'd be like here, yeah, F tier.
I would take Agatha over Infinite. Like I would rather it turn into Agatha.
Yeah, honestly, Agatha and her crazy drunk play is better than having a 6/11 that you're just not playing. You're just not gonna play that.
Agatha honestly cooks better than I do most of the time, so it might be an upgrade to my play.
Yeah, right. Just play Agatha and a Hulkling deck just to like, even if it discards the Agatha, there's still a Hulkling that's an Agatha, so it's like insurance to make sure you can't play the game. I like it. It's big thinking. Tribunal's
been one that I've bounced back and forth on. It was originally in like my notes as like a potential really good synergy. Then I'm like, wait a minute, like Tribunal decks, they're going for a very specific thing. I start to lean towards it maybe being a C, because I think it screws you up probably a lot.
I think
because
it screws you up.
Yeah, because like there's a chance you can build a Tribunal deck that has Hulkling, but I do not think that you can build a regular deck that when you have a random tribunal show up, you're like, oh, this is fine. Because you like, unless you're getting to like 25 to 30 power, which is what you usually attempt to do with tribunal, you're going to be way too low. They're going to spread like 9 power across the locations.
Yeah, so earlier when I was saying I like him in tribunal, I like him in tribunal because of these cards we're looking at here and the power that it can bring. Like getting a Dr. Doom Hulkling and then playing a tribunal is fantastic. Him turning into tribunal, it's just not going to work in the decks that he's in all the time because simply put, like 18 power across the lanes isn't enough these days to win. And who knows if you can even get that.
I think he should go down F now they look at it. Like, I think he's worse than Thanos for sure. And maybe even worse than Heimdall. No, he's on the same level as Heimdall. Like him and Heimdall, I think are doing the same thing.
I have him a little bit above because I think that there are plenty of decks where you're like, oh, cool. Like I can make this tribunal work. But then there are ones where you have to retreat. These, almost all of them, it's like, I've done nothing. Like, these, you're retreating almost instantly. These, you're like, I didn't get anything good here. I think Tribunal, you can at least make work in some decks.
I would almost rather have Giganto than Tribunal.
Whoa. I think it just depends on the
I don't know if that's
deck.
a hot take or not. Like, Tribunal, like, it's such... I think it's such a bad pull. Now, the more I'm really talking myself down on it.
Yeah, that's fine. I will respect where you have it. I get it. I think in the majority of decks and where Hulkling's going to be, it's probably a bad pull. Lastly, though, we've got Ultron. And I'm going to be honest, dude. I know it's only 3 power more. As a random play, man, I guess this is how Hulkling affects the card. Dude, just having a random Ultron is so good. Ultron's such a stupid good card right now. Like, I'd put it in S just because of how, like, it's just going to win you games you're not supposed to. But I guess it could be A.
Ultron's awesome, and it does not need additional power, which makes me feel like it's definitely A. Yeah.
Okay.
Ever since I changed to the drones, adding that additional power to make them 1/2s, like, Ultron has been a legitimate closer. Yep. Even in non-Patriot decks, like you can just play like, hey, that location's empty. How about I put 8 power in it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, if you look at it across the board here, this kind of goes to our point earlier and why I think it's going to be a really good card. Like here at the end of the day, there are only 3 cards that you're like super bummed about. Like there's nothing going to happen from your game. You know, the Agatha, the Infinite, the Destroyer, Giganto and up is fine. If you look at the amount of cards though, dude, B and above, that's a huge, I mean, let's just count it, right? We've got 5 in the S tier. We've got 10. We have 9 here, so that's 14 overall of these, and then we have this. So we have 17, which I throw Orca in there, 18 cards that are like good to get. 17, 18 cards out of only, give or take, yeah, it's close. I mean, I can't even say 11 bad ones because C isn't bad. So you're looking at a lot of hits, man, on a roulette wheel with only a couple, green double zeros, if you will.
My biggest takeaway from this conversation is that Cozy Snap is an Orca enjoyer.
Oh man, I legitimately like swear to God can't remember the last time I played Orca. Like even like a hub. Like I think like I can't remember, man. Maybe a raft. That's gotta be
I've released a number of surprise Orca deck videos that no one watched because everyone's like, Alex, they just see Orca on the thumbnail. They're like, no, not again, Alex. We're not doing this again.
Yeah. Quite literally, we're not doing this again. I'm not supporting this. Quite literally though, man, A and above, all of these cards are exciting to imagine with the 11 power and with the different ways you can win this. I mean, I think it's going to be a cube stealer at the very end of it. I like my stance on it. I think it'll take some time. I think you're going to get people that pull all these in their sample matches tomorrow and say it's one of the best cards of the game. And then you're going to get the guys out here only getting these and be like, who would want this card?
Oh, for sure. Like, there's going to be a very wide gambit of experiences, especially in like that early wave of like first impressions releases. Like, we often do like those first day one type of like, spotlight reviews. There's going to be a wide variety of impressions for sure.
In general, guys, my biggest statement against this is the first week of September has Mockingbird, it's Silver Sable, and what is the last card in that week? U.S. Agent. Probably the best week in the next 2 months. It is an absolute insane week, and so make sure you have tokens for the Spotlight Caches for that week, or Spotlight Caches specifically. But if you have some leftover or you really like the card, then this is definitely going to be an interesting one, and look out for our final rankings when we talk about it on the next Snapchat. But Alex, we have a lot to talk about, and this is actually a juicy episode. We have a lot of new cards that have been data mined, but on top of that, we have new things that have been data mined within the game. So first of all, we have snap packs. Have you heard of these? It's I think this is, man, if they implement this well, I really like the idea of it. Essentially, you play, and if you play and you win, you can open these packs that have a chance to get a guaranteed Series 5, and I think there's some protection against it where you almost always get it. I mean, new cards and new card acquisition, I think is always a W.
Yeah, no, I kind of heard about this, and I was like, this sounds cool. I hope it doesn't get ruined by something weird. Like, I hope that it doesn't turn into, like, some weird, like, oh, you want to, like, get cards? Well, then why don't you buy all these packs? Like, we just turn into, like, oh, we're farming packs now. It's just like, it's a gotcha thing, but maybe not. Maybe listen, I gotta be hopeful. It does sound pretty cool though.
Snap pack event, and so win games open packs. If they just leave it, just don't change anything, leave it as that, and it's a win. Like, straight up, it's a win. Guaranteed Series 5 card, great, awesome. Hopefully there's just that you don't buy your way into it or whatever it might be. Win games to turn energy into packs is what it sounds like. They're also adding effects, man, like bananas and water. This is awesome. There's a lot of cosmetics. I'm not going to go to them. You guys can go to snap.fan here to see them. But there's like a banana effect. Like, instead of sparkling or crackle, there's, you know, Deadpool symbols. Any cosmetics, anything like this, I'm all for. Good on them here. Who knows how they're going to implement it, though. I doubt it's going to be free. But I am happy to see a lot of new background effects here.
You know, I know I've brought it up in the past, but like I hate this so much. I hate these leaks coming out like this, and like I wish the Snaps marketing team had a chance to like put these into proper trailers and put them out. Like, these are some really cool additions to the game that like get leaked on some website and don't get presented properly. And it's like, it takes so much out of the marketing sales of the team. Like, I know I'm kind of deviating from the core conversation here, but like, oh man, I don't know how I feel about leaks. Like, we kind of need them and want them for like.
I was gonna say, as someone who makes a lot of spotlight videos, though, Alex, I feel like you're double standard there. Like, so hold on, let me just pump the brakes there to not sound aggressive. I get what you mean as far as like the pack stuff like that. Like, that makes sense. Like, there's no need to be able to see that. But I also think in a game where there's like an economy and you have to be really careful and stuff, it's vital to see ahead as well. It is. It's
like the duality of man. It's like, you know, you have to know what's coming up because they're so stingy with the tokens and everything else, and the card acquisition is so difficult. You have to plan ahead, but at the same time, like when you have like these type of like new effects and stuff, like I thought the highlight of that last patch was the new the way they've allowed you to customize base art and stuff like that. Like, those things people care about, man. They care about, and these things I think they would care about as well. To see it get leaked is actually kind of heartbreaking.
Did you see you can buy tokens now too, man? Just what an L, dude. I'm so disappointed.
That's a huge L, yeah.
I'm so disappointed.
For another day.
It is, yeah. We can talk about that another day, but I'm disappointed. I feel like
that sucked, yeah.
Like, I legit remember, like, quote unquote, tokens will not be purchasable, and then they make them purchasable. I just don't understand what they're doing over there. Not a smart decision. But on a plus side, let's talk about the new cards coming out. So we've got the typical like season cards coming out, but then we've got some of them that aren't assigned to anything. And this is really interesting. To me, it screams the Deadpool's Diner kind of stuff, but there's more than just those. And so I feel like there's going to be other ways to get these cards. Very interesting. One of those being Agony. So right off the rip, buddy, 1 cost, 2 power card. After you play a card here, merge this with it. What are your thoughts on Agony? I think this is a pretty good universal 1-drop.
It does seem pretty cool. I think about often like how, okay, space in Marvel Snap is such a commodity. It really is. Like, we kind of take for granted the idea that like you only have 4 slots on your board. And there's a lot of junk that happens, and I think that like the randomness of Hulkbuster can be kind of interesting, and I think it's a cool card. This is kind of like a reverse Hulkbuster in a sense. I like it though. I like it. I think it's cool.
This is, I think, a really solid card for Destroy decks. I think this is a nice little add to Deadpool, but also you've got like the Scarlet Spider coming out that you can make clones, and there's, you know, whatever. What's that? The card no one plays, Black Panther. I mean, there's cards that you can take advantage of. For it being so cheap, I really like that. I think that's going to be interesting to say the least. So this one is not assigned to anything. Let's talk about some of the other cards not assigned to any season, anything at all. Gore. Now, Gore, I'm really sad about. Now, he used to be a card that destroyed on your side and theirs, every 6-cost card on the board. It's perfect for his lore. Great for the I thought it was really interesting. They changed it, and I don't love how they changed it. It's a negative card, but the ongoing +2 power for each on reveal card in play, and it's a 6 -3. There was a lot of power potential here, but also
It's weird. It's weird. I know. Obviously, as you mentioned, Mr. Negative enjoyers very happy with this change, but at the same time, it does lose a lot of flavor. It does lose a lot of flavor. What it was before might have been OP though. Like that might have been actually kind of insane. Like I was thinking to myself when I saw it, I was like, oh, I wonder if like, you play Ghost and then you play this behind Ghost or like Invisible Woman and then like wipe out their turn 6 play and stuff like that.
So
it could have potentially been insane.
Agreed, especially because there was, I think, like a 6-0. If it was a -3 though, I didn't hate it because then you're at a loss for it, and then you can't play 6 costs on your side. Like it was interesting to say the least. This is just weird. A lot of variants out for this card, meaning too that I think they've had an idea for this guy for a while, and they're just trying to find a way to implement him. So we don't know how he's coming. This to me screams like a Deadpool Diner card, just because it's I don't know. It just has that notoriety around it, if you will. Misery will get to Sator. Sator, or Sortor. I can say it. I just can't say it, if you know what I mean. But it's a 3-cost, 3-power card. This one is the certified crack. This is going to be a really good card. After you play a card with 10+ power, this gains +4 power. There are so many cards, man, with 10+ power. This just seems like a card that can get really big.
Yeah, I actually like this, and like my early thoughts around this was like, what about Thanos with like Call Obsidian, and then like you have like other cards that can get to 10. Obviously Thanos itself. It made me wonder if like, okay, it obviously can't consider ongoing. So like something like a Devil Dinosaur won't trigger it. But what else will trigger it? Mockingbird will, Call Obsidian will, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, this is going into a Thanos deck for sure. And that's kind of where I landed on it in my early thoughts.
Yeah, a lot of people are missing that. You have to play it with 10+ power, so it's got to have that already. There's plenty of them out there with it. I think that you can get this reliably to a 15-power card a good amount of the time. 3 costs. Right, 3 costs. So you're probably going to be playing it on curve too. We like that because it's going to be able to, well, after you play it. So this actually has to go out later, right? Or no, this just gets it probably wherever it's at.
Yeah, I think this is wherever it's at. I don't see this remaining like this. It seems impossible.
It's so good. It's ridiculous. Again, we don't know where this is going to come from, which is really cool. Couple banger variants for it as well. We have Tombstone. Costs 1 if an enemy card was destroyed last turn. This is the Miles Morales of I think this card has been needed to be in the game for a while.
No, it actually is a pretty damn cool card. And as a 4/6 stat line, I think it's pretty strong. Like it's pretty fairly statted, no?
Yeah, I think this is cool because it works obviously with locations. It works in Destroy. It works to counter Destroy. Destroy is needed a gate like that in some way. This to me just seems like a great, again, I feel like every single, like you've got the stature for discard, this is for destroy, maybe, and then you have Miles for move. So this is the answer to that.
I wonder if it needs one more activator though. Like I wonder if there's another card that we don't have yet that allows you to destroy. Like, is this the Spider-Man 2099 buff we've been waiting for? I don't know, maybe not.
Right, probably most definitely not. But speaking of Spider-Man, this card has been in the data since the beginning of the game. Uncle Ben. He used to be that when this card got destroyed, add Spider-Man to your hand, which was just absolute perfection in a card ability. It's a 1/2. Now, when this card is destroyed, replace it with Spider-Man. Honestly, super crazy weird, right? I think what's interesting about it is like the Killmonger play in like a Surfer deck or something, because then you could play Uncle Ben, you Killmonger it, it'll move lanes, but then you have a Surfer that builds up a 3. I don't know. That was my thought.
Do you think it'll actually do the Spider-Man on reveal and like move a card?
I think so. Yeah.
It won't just turn into a 3/5. It'll actually do the swing?
I think so. If it just turned into a 3/5, this would be just a better Bucky in every way.
Can I be honest for a second? I've seen a lot of people meme about its original effect, and I've never understood the joke.
What do you mean?
Like, you add Spider-Man to your hand after it's destroyed. Why is that so sad?
Great power comes great responsibility. You don't remember? Are you trolling me here?
Yes.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah, I understood that he got shot and then Spider-Man like cried about it, but I don't understand I don't understand why adding Spider-Man to the hand is funnier than just replacing it with Spider-Man.
It wasn't to the hand. Is that Ben's got to die for Spider-Man to be a thing?
He already had the Spider-Man stuff. He already got bit by Spider-Man, didn't he?
He got bit. Didn't mean he was gonna be Spider-Man.
Okay, fair. I don't understand the joke. That's all. Maybe I'm old.
So yeah, guys.
Then again, it's an old movie.
Yeah, it is. You want to keep?
Right.
You got anything else on Uncle Ben?
Done.
Yeah. Okay. I want to know. Aunt May coming soon. We also have a new season. We'll be quicker on these, but so all these cards I just talked about, dude. Would you want these to all come out at once, like with the She-Hulk thing that happened in November? You were kind of creeping towards that. Do you think these are going to be Deadpool Dino rewards? How do you think these are going to come into the game?
I have no idea. I could not even venture a guess. I'm assuming that we'll probably stay on roughly the same path, where you have one a week, and then they're likely to do an event at some point, maybe around like an anniversary, maybe in October or something like that. What was the launch? Was it October 28th?
Yeah.
So maybe around that time they do an event for the launch and they provide a free card there. I could see that being the case.
Alrighty, lastly, guys, we have Fenris Wolf, and there's no way this stays the same. I just don't see it. This is going to be in the October season. They're keeping the spooky theme, and we have an activate card, which makes it even more cracked. Okay, 2/3 activate, resurrect the highest power discarded or destroyed enemy card to your side of this location. What the hell?
I think it's pretty cool. I actually really like the effect. Like,
yeah, it's great.
I had this thought of like, okay, they get Monster Island, you Shang-Chi it, and then you play Fenris Wolf, and you bring back the monster. That's pretty cool, no?
Or anything. Literally anything. This is the ultimate counter to destroy. This is a great counter to discard. This is just a fantastic. This is just a hella counter. This has a lot to it.
It's just interesting to think that, like, first of all, I don't know if it'll work with Apocalypse. Will it? Because Apocalypse returns to their hand. Does it count as something that's been like discarded?
No, I think
it should, right? Because Morbius gets buffed.
So. No. So that's like each time a card gets discarded. Yes, you're correct. However, the way I see that is it's like Ghost Rider. It revives a discarded card.
Yes, that's true.
That's the way I would look at that. Misery got from a 5. I think it was like, what, a 5? I can see here. 5/10 to a 4/7. I don't care about the power. I think this is much better at a 4/7.
4/7 gives it like a lot more versatility for sure. Like, I think that when you have the effect, which is what Misery's after, that repeating those on reveals and then destroying them, that's what you're after, right?
Yeah.
The points and the power was just all bonus, all gravy. Moving it down to a 4/7, I think actually, I don't know if it's a buff, I would say, because more power is always better, but that extra little energy off, I think makes a difference in sneaking into some interesting cooks.
I mean, I think even something as simple as playing Venom down on 3 and you play Misery down on 4 and it just copies the Venom and then you just get to destroy more of that Venom power. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I think there's plenty to do there. This is just going to be a good card and unique. But the tough part is I just did a spotlight thing and there's so many, dude, there's so many good cards. I couldn't knock any of the new cards coming to the game. Like, they're more of like, not bad. It's just the way you play Snap and what you play is what's going to determine, if you should get that week or not.
We have a lot of creative things coming, like a lot of cards that like I think are going to challenge what existing archetypes exist in, like the case of Scream, Misery, which could propel a new type of destroy archetype. We have a lot of really interesting stuff coming for the game, yeah, for sure.
Well, guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's Snapchat. Next week, we're going to be talking about the brand new season around the corner, September. A very good one at that with Activate coming to the game and a lot of great cards at that, buddy. So if you guys want to listen to all of Alex's stuff and his side of Snapchat, go ahead and check out the link in the description. Or if you listen to the podcast, it's coming right up. We'll be talking about speed and review, the best cards in Snap, and the Snapchat mailbag. As always, have a good one. Have a great one. Until the next one. Happy snapping.